Welcome back. I'm playing Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, and we'll get started on our next multiplayer matchup. I'm going to be playing on the Assault Exchange. We're doing a strategic command mission, 2,000 points. We're going to be playing as the Adepta Sororitas, going against the Astra Militarum. It is an 80-point target, 8-turn limit, so we will get started here. Now, this was a match that was done pre-Deeds of the Fallen. So towards the end, you'll see where it kind of bugs out, so you can see what was happening to some of the games and why I wasn't able to upload things as regularly as I was supposed to, because I ended up losing 5 matches due to that. And it didn't help that I also had my video driver get corrupted too, so that also, I didn't realize it wasn't recording properly in OBS, and so I lost some plays that way as well on some matches that I was doing after the Fallen. Now, typically what I'd like to do on this matchup is I'd bring at least one Seraphim with me, and I would use them to come over there and capture that point, because then they can the following turn, use the wings to fly over those obstacles there and rally with the rest of our forces. Now, I do have 2 immolators that have the twin multi-melta builds here. That'll help us fight down any vehicles that may be coming our way, since most Astra Militarum players will be doing a vehicle-heavy build, especially against the Adepta Sororitas. And so I have some Celestians with flamers also to help me screen and take down any infantry, because usually what Astra Militarum players will do is they'll bring a bunch of Cadians and use them as a screen, so your Sister Repentia, Canoness, other units can't get in there and start meleeing down their vehicles, because you have to get through a screen of the infantry before you can charge through. Now, I was unable to tell what vehicle had attacked me at the start there, whether that was a Demolisher or some other tank. Since it only fired once, I did not think that it was a tank commander. And when I'm moving this immolator up to this left side, I don't see really any opponents, so it looks like he abandoned this side. So we'll just unload our Celestians, get them here. I still don't see anybody over here, so that's a pretty good indicator that he's abandoned this side. So we'll run these guys down, and then we'll get them back in the immolator the following turn and try to move towards the center here to take these points back. So I can move up with the Celestians here. Since he was shooting me with a Vanquisher, I'm thinking that I should be able to get some attacks here. Now, I'll advance with this Rhino to hopefully get to see him. And now I'm like, well, where the hell's the tank? I should have exposure to the tank by now, and I don't. So it's like, well, this is quite peculiar. So now I'm trying to decide what I want to do. It's like I can move the Celestians over here. They're not going to be able to capture that point. And I don't necessarily want to leave them out in the open. So I'm going to bring this Rhino over here. We'll pop smoke, and now that will cover the capture point, but that's because I should be able to just run up here and flame them down and then capture the point with my Celestians, and then that should allow them to be alive and survive hopefully a little bit easier when they try to countertake that point from us. So I can see some of his forces here. So he's got 2 Chimeras, well, 1 Chimera I guess. He's got 2 Demolishers, a Vanquisher, and a bunch of infantry here. Now, if you look at their battle line doctrine, that's the indicator for a sergeant, which you can see in the background there. But the other thing that's kind of confusing is you can see a Castellan back there, but for some reason the sergeant is the one that's giving the battle line doctrine. So that doesn't make any sense, because how it's supposed to work is whoever is the highest ranking officer is supposed to give their battle line doctrine. So I'm not sure why that is not working correctly. But that was kind of confusing me a little bit, because I originally had missed that Castellan was there. So I was like, oh, okay, all he has is a sergeant here for his HQ commander. But then I was even more confused, like, well, how the hell was he able to shoot me at such a long distance here if he doesn't have very good forces for accuracy? And I also don't see a tank commander. Now I was going back and forth, like, should I bring the Celestians to hold the point around the corner there or not? Now I ended up moving this vehicle here, But I think in retrospect that was a bad decision, and I should have had that other rhino, so then they would have had to shoot through all my vehicles on the left side, and I should have just abandoned this right side. But because I was thinking I was going to be able to charge down that Vanquisher tank, I ended up kind of overextending it, and I didn't quite have enough room to move them into cover like this other rhino is. Now, since I don't see a tank commander, I'm like, well, they should still be able to tank some shots. He has 15 evasion in the smoke, so I should be able to counteract this, especially since he's got dual demolishers here, because they will have trouble getting that kind of distance. Now, they do have 3 las cannons, so if he moves everybody down there, any las cannons me, I guess that would kill the vehicle, but I didn't feel like he was likely to do that. I figured he was more likely to try to finish off my immolator here, so I did unload my canoness, but again, kind of continuing on with some bad movement here, I, for some reason, decided to unload her in the back, thinking, well, she'll be in cover, but honestly, I kind of want her to be in the front so she can counter-engage vehicles, so that was kind of a bad move on my part. And now you can see that the battle line doctrine has changed to the Castellan, so I don't understand still why it was showing the sergeant here, but he's advancing. As expected, he's moving his forces over here to try to engage these guys down, and using his las cannons to work on the taking out the immolator here. Killed our Celestians. He's running his Vanquisher over here, and now the tank commander makes his existence known, and now I'm like, shit, that is definitely gonna die because a dual las cannon, dual Vanquisher hits. There's no way a rhino's gonna survive that. So now I can really see the errors on my way, because it's like, well, there goes my immolator, and I just lost my rhino with 2 Sisters Repentia, and I really need them to be able to fight off these tanks. So things are definitely looking really bad for us at this point in time. Now, interestingly, he has a Psyker, and I think that's actually probably a pretty smart move against the Adepta Sororitas, especially if you know they're going to be using rhino transports and you have these choke points like you do on this map here. Because what you can do is she can end up using her Psychic Maelstrom like she does here, and now effectively it's going to reduce the movement of my units if I try to drive through that, and that's going to make it so they can't get much of a distance. And he then has his infantry acting as a screen, so now that effectively means I can't get to his tanks. I could kill the Chimera, but then everybody else is going to kill me, so it's like, what's the point of doing that? I could move those guys up here and flame down those Cadians, but then my guys are going to be trapped and take 30 damage for every model, and then everybody else will just be able to get in there and easily get the kill. So at this point in time, I'm like, shit, what can I do to try to rectify the situation? And the only thing I can come up with is I need to hold these strategic command points. So I go for trying to use my abilities here, because she's unlikely to survive another turn. Now, it still has the bug. If I put it over there, it looks like it goes up by 1 square. That's no longer a thing. So even though it shows that, that's not correct. So just make sure that you don't put it on your own person, or you're going to get confused. So I do that. Now I have 1 more movement. So I can move this guy up to here. With haste. And then in retrospect, what I should have done is move the canoness up 1 and then used her ability to get extra movement, and then she would have had double attacks, because she, with her double attacks, or I should say with her ability to do 3 swings with her Blessed Blade and having double attacks with the Blessing here, that would have allowed her to solo a tank, assuming she doesn't get a grazed hit or miss an attack. So here I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I have all these guys in the way. So for whatever reason, I come up with a brilliant idea that I'm going to unload the Sister Superior here, and then I'll put the Canoness into my vehicle. At the time I was thinking, well, what I'll do is I can save her ability to then hopefully run over and kill some other tanks, but once you start thinking about it more, it's like, well, there's a good chance she's going to get focus fired down, because she's now my most high value target for what I have left on the field. So that's actually a really stupid way of thinking about this. So I'm like, well, I can run my Sister Superior over here and take these guys out. But I can't quite make up my mind, so I'm like, well, let's just bring her into the Rhino Transport, and I'll just run up with the Rhino Transport, because it's got to be up here anyways to unload those Sister Repentia. So kind of continuing along with my thought process here, it's like, well, let's unload the Canoness here. And then it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I have these guys over here. So I move you up here, put the Celestians into this immolator, and I start running the tank over here. Now at that kind of distance, it's only a 50-50 chance. So it's like, well, I don't think it makes sense to try to roll the dice there, but if I advance it, I should have enough movement on my Hospitaller to start buffing these guys in the corner. So I'm like, maybe I can use this to rectify my really bad decision making. So I move you up to here, and it's like, alright, well now she can't reach that direction. But if I then use the ability, the Divine Deliverance, it'll give her an extra movement. And now it's like, well, that's going to be sacrificing the whole thing I was trying not to do by giving her the evasion debuff at the cost of the movement. But it's like, I need to for sure kill these tanks or I'm going to die. So it's like, alright, well, let's just continue on then. So we'll move you down to here. And I'll start attacking here. And you can see I'm getting good damage here, about 70 per hit. And so if I do that twice, that should be enough to get the kill. And it's like, I do have these Sister Repentia, so I'll move them over to here, and then I move the other ones here. And then I'm like, oh, well, why don't I use my Sister Superior to increase everybody's melee damage by 15%? And it's like, alright, so that should definitely allow her to kill the tank. But then I decide, well, I'll give her bonus health here, and I'll move these guys. It's like I can rear attack any of these and hopefully get some kills. However, that Chimera still has the Flamer, so it's like these guys are going to get killed if I do that, and they'll also get killed if by the explosion, which is the hard decision point here. So I'm just trying to decide how I want to do this. Because it's like, I wouldn't mind taking out the Sergeant, but then it's like, oh, he's got the Castellan over here, and then with that charge, these guys should move over. Now, the charge attack is not coded correctly, because if you saw the attacks there, it actually looked like these guys were doing less damage when they were charging in, where it should be more. So that's a little bit tough, because it doesn't give you an accurate representation of how much damage they're really going to do. And so it's like I can see that the rear attack is over here, so I move these guys to here. And ideally what I'd want to do is have them use their charge attack to come over here, but then it's like, I'm not sure that's actually going to increase their damage without the square. So it's like I'll just hit here, and they get excellent damage, and they almost one solo that down. So it's like I'll move you guys over here, so that way they don't die in the explosion. And now I make a terrible decision to give her more bonus HP here and to give her the momentum, but it's like she would have had enough momentum to surge when I kill this tank. So there's really no reason that I should have just wasted that attack with the Sister Superior, or that action point with the Sister Superior here. And now that's down to 4. So it's like, because this has been buffed up with the armor piercing and the increased damage, it should be able to do 4 damage. And it blows up the tank. So now we've taken these guys out. Now if I hadn't wasted that with that action point with the Sister Superior, she could have finished off the Sergeant here with her bolt pistol. Or not her bolt pistol, but her bolt rifle. So now I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And it's like, I really want to drop the Sergeant because he actually does decent damage. So it's like, well, I guess we're just going to shoot with the Immolator here in the Heavy Bolter, but I don't have enough damage now to get the kill. So it's like, normally... And then the other thing is I should have healed her, before I gave her all this bonus HP, because now the game is confused. Even though she's taking quite a bit of damage, she didn't heal for higher HP, because that bonus HP, the game is thinking that she's already as high as she can be. So you just got to be careful when you're playing the Adepta Sororitas that you heal up their base damage, their base health, before you put all that bonus HP up, or you're actually going to suffer. You're going to have less HP. And then again, because I wasted that action point for the Sister Superior, I had to end up surging the Canonist to kill the Sergeant. But now her evasion is not only lower because of the Divine Deliverance, but it also has been dropped quite precipitously, because now she no longer has 100 momentum, which would have increased her evasion back into the positive numbers. So it's like, I need her to survive to be able to fight off these tanks, because everybody else that's anti-vehicle other than the Immolator is going to likely be killed this following turn. So I'm just trying to decide, okay, well, I'm in a shit situation. I'm a little bit tilted here. What can I do to try to salvage the situation? The only thing I have going for me is I've been holding these strategic command points for, 3 turns to my advantage. So it's like, do I pull back with the Celestia and try to hold the right lower corner strategic command point? Do I engage here and just sacrifice them to kill an additional unit? Or do I pull them back into the corner? And what I couldn't remember is with the movement of the enemy unit, was it mechanized or not? Meaning if it's mechanized in a Sentinel, the Celestians are not going to be able to survive, and they're going to waste a unit trying to get over there, and I'm going to lose the point. So I decide, well, given that I'm in such dire straits, I don't want to chance it that there's a Sentinel over there that I'm not going to be able to kill and just sacrifice these guys, because I need all the damage and body blocking I can. So I bring these guys over to here, because all those tanks and the Chimeras have flamers. And then obviously these Sister Repentia are easily going to get dispatched next turn by those tanks with the flamers. So because of that, I pull my Celestians back to here just to try to body block the point and hopefully not get flamed down. But things are definitely not going well for us here, because we have 2 heavy flamer attacks coming our way next turn. Well, actually 3, because of the other Chimera. So it is 35 to 20. And as expected, he flames here. But what I was not expecting is that was going to give him enough momentum now that he's going to get double attacks. So unfortunately, he did land the attack on the Canonist, so now she's pretty much dead. He's landing his shots onto the Rhinos. He's using his tank commander to eliminate the Repentia that are over there. And his last cannon was back up off a cooldown. So he's able to use his Chimera's multi-laser to take those guys down. And he can flame here to help him get that point off. Now, what's smart about that is because the flamers have a 100% chance to hit, he can avoid all that evasion that the Canonist has here. And had I, instead of tried to heal her without getting any sort of healing benefit due to the bugged out bonus HP, I could have done the Medicus Menestorm, and that would have given her 10% damage reduction and an additional 10% bonus HP. And so had I done all those things or healed her first, there's a chance she would have survived this following turn to allow me to start fighting off these tanks. But obviously that's not the case, and that's not what I did. So now I'm in this situation where I have nothing that can really take out these vehicles. So it's like, well, what am I going to do here? I'll move you, the Immolator, down to here. I'll bring the Celestians up to here. And then I can flame down these Cadians. And again, it's like, well, my HQ unit is about to die here the following turn. So it's like, what can I do to maximize our situation here? I can attack this Chimera, and if I can land 2 different turns of attacks there, it will be enough to kill the Chimera. But I'm not sure the Chimera is going to be able to tank the shots of a Vanquisher, double tank commander, double Chimera, and potentially a Psyker. So I'm just trying to decide what is going to be the most efficient way of doing this. So it's like, well, let's just move increase everybody's movement.
Who needs my aid?
And so I move her over to here, and then she'll be able to get the bonus movement as well. And then I'm just trying to decide, well, do I give guys the blessing or not for the increased damage reduction and the bonus health, or do I just advance these guys up here? I was kind of debating about whether I was going to be able to flame that Psyker, but obviously I don't have enough movement to do that even if I gave him the extra attack. So it's like I'll move you up to here. And then I'm just trying to decide, do I body block this point to try to hold it for another turn? And I make the decision that I don't think that's going to be able to survive. So I instead decide to just try to use up her action point to give him an additional armor piercing and some extra damage, but I don't know if it really makes much of a difference. And then I unload the Celestians here. Because it's like, well, what I don't want is for him to put those Cadian shock troops into one of those chimeras and move them over and capture the point in the corner, because as of this point I may just be able to squeak out a victory here if I'm extremely careful with these points. And I was hoping that if I came up there I could flame through the vehicle, but you can only flame through your own, not through enemy vehicles. So now it's like, ah, shit, I've left that point open. I've got no movement over here. I've got an immolator that's incredibly exposed, 2 hospitalers, and a Celestian here. What the hell am I gonna do to try to win this situation? I mean, I still have the points in my favor, but he should be able to just body block these locations and hold them down. So my only hope at this point in time is that he uses his damaged Chimera to try to body block the strategic command point near me. Now, unfortunately, he did successfully capture that point that turn, and he is not bringing that Chimera over there, which is prudent for him. Now, the one thing I did not take into consideration is the Blessed Hall, and that should be giving me some damage reductions every time he's shooting me here. So perhaps in retrospect, had I moved that immolator up there, he could have survived those attacks with all those damage reductions that he's getting through the Blessed Hall and the 10% reduction he could have had with Medicus Ministorum ability from the Hospitaller here. Now you can see the Psyker actually has pretty decent armor piercing with his melee attack, so he was doing some pretty decent damage to us. So now I'm just trying to decide, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because it's now 4-1 in his favor.
So it shall be.
And I've made some pretty terrible plays. So it's like I need to kill some of these guys. And I don't have enough momentum from the Shield of Faith to get these guys to be able to surge.
With faith we serve.
So instead, I'm just trying to decide what I want to do here.
In his light.
It's like, well, with all the damage buffs that these guys have, they should actually do a significant amount of damage to the Primaris Psyker here. So it's like, I'm going to do 4 to 6 times 16. So it's like, okay, yep, that does more than half their health. So I'll give them a second attack, and this will kill the Psyker. So now he's down, and that's taken out all the infantry, so he shouldn't be able to use his command point ability to transport, do the Valkyrie transport, and get infantry on the map to close the distance. My only hope is that I run these guys down this way and try to capture that point from the opponent the following turn, assuming it's not killed by all these other units. And it's like, well, there's no way this guy's going to survive another turn in our current predicament with all these different mechanized forces over here. So it's like the only way I can potentially survive is if I get these victory points here, but I think I've done enough to cause myself to lose, but it's like I'll give it a heroic chance here. So I end up doing the attack here and see that there's 50 health left. So if I buff the accuracy and crit chance with our bolter, this should be enough to get the kill here. And you see I do get the kill, so it's like, alright, well, if he decides to come after me with his battle tank, or his tank commander, perhaps the tank commander could capture that point around the corner in 2 turns. But I suspect he's going to want to try to use the tank commander to kill some infantry instead. So it's like, I'll just move these guys over to here. I'm going to give these guys double attacks because I want to just see how much damage they can do against a tank.
Faith guides my feet to walk the righteous path.
Or a chimera, I should say, with their damage buffs. But I imagine it's not going to be very much, but I figured I would try. And so you can see, even with the armor piercing, increased damage and things like that, it only does about 50 damage, which isn't terrible, but it's nothing game-changing, kind of like, unlike the Retributors with their heavy flamer. If you can get them to stack all their buffs and their bastions and everything, they can do like 200 damage with a flamer to a vehicle. So it's like, well, I guess I'm going to just move you. I can move you to here and hide from the tank commander, but then the Vanquisher is going to get you, so I elect to just put him here to try to protect you from the Vanquisher and make the tank commander have to come after you. Because if he gets bad damage rolls, he can potentially get some grazing shots, which won't be enough to kill the Immolator. And now I'm just trying to decide what I want to do with the Hospitaller here, and it's like, I think she just needs to come down here and try to support these Celestians down here to try to capture that point, because if it's Kasserkin or Cadian shock troops, they should be able to kill them. If it's Ogrins, then I'm going to just get my ass handed to me, but it's pretty unlikely that he would send Ogrins down there, because that'd be a big waste of force, a big waste of resources. And they are, in fact, the shock troops. So now I'm really regretting my decision on not just leaving some Celestians down there, because that would have held that point from me, and I would have 10 additional points going to my score right now. And it would actually be closer to 15, because it's going to take me another turn to get over there, unless I have gathered up enough momentum that I can get my guys around there, but it doesn't look like that's the case, because they did attack me. And the nice thing about that is it allowed them to get an extra movement doing that. So it's like, well, I guess I'll just chance it and have our little Hospitaller run over here and try to capture this point. But I think 2 turns of him having 4 points to my 1 is going to make it so I can't get the points back realistically. But it's like, we'll keep fighting here. My only chance is that I can trigger this to get +1 movement with our command points here. And I don't think I'm going to get any command point momentum here, because these guys are already surged, but I'll try it. And yeah, see, I don't get any momentum there because he's already at 100%, and killing that unit did not move that bar. Now, if I had surged them and attacked, that would have allowed me to get some momentum, but I don't think it would have been enough to get there. Now, I'm starting to realize that these command points look like they're bugged out, and they in fact are. So as I was clicking those things, they're saying I had to move to the corner of the map to capture one, and you can see every command point or strategic command point here has a white arrow, which typically indicates that nobody's captured, even though you can see at the top of the screen that it's still recording it. So now I'm actually been noticing this on my other matches that have been going on pre Deeds of the Fallen. So I'm like, all right, let's just play this out and see what happens when I get over here, if it's going to work appropriately or if it's going to bug out. And if it does, that means I'm going to have to just concede my other 5 matches that I have going on right now that aren't advanced enough into the game to tell me if it's going to be bugged or not. So it's like, let's just end the turn here, but I don't think even if I capture these 2 points that I'm going to be able to pull it back. But you can see how close our point values are, which is just totally making me shake my head a little bit here at the current situation, because it's like, if I would have just done some of these moves a little bit better, I should have been able to win this match here, given how close it is, even after valiantly trying to come back from that Rhino transport getting totally annihilated on that first turn here. So it's like, let's see what happens when I try to capture these points. And I move you over here, and there's no indicator for me to be able to capture this point back. So it's like, shit. So it's like, let's see if that happens over here. And it does. So effectively, the game thinks I have to go over there to capture the points. So there's no way for me to be able to bring this back, so I just end up conceding our match here. You can see the values here. We took out 6 Cadian shock troops, 1 Primary Psyker, a Castellan, 2 Lehman Russes, a Sergeant, and a Chimera. Our accuracies are going to be fairly exceptional because we have such a heavy flamer build. You know, even the Hospitaller had 75% accuracy, which is pretty decent for her little bolt pistol. Now again, Slytherin, please just let the Hospitallers get access to plasma pistols so they can actually do something when their abilities are on cooldown. But you can see the Celestians have 100% accuracy because they have their flamers. Obviously, the Rhino and the Repentia didn't have 0 because they didn't get to do anything because they were just killed. Same with the Immolator there, which is just tragic. Of the Repentia that were able to attack, they have 100% accuracy. The Rhino had 93%. The Celestians had 100% again because they have their flamers, and the Canoness has 100% accuracy with her melee, 75% with her pistol, and that's with her shooting through cover, so that's actually pretty decent. The Sister Superior has 0s because I totally pissed away her abilities with very poor planning, which was just very stupid on my part. The Immolator has 80% accuracy because of some crazy bolter shots that I had tried to pull off with it. But it definitely could have been higher and had much better point values for me had I used that more strategically. And then obviously the last Celestian again has 100% accuracy with the flamers. So post Deeds of the Fallen, you now have access to somebody called a Dominion, which is effectively a Celestian that has access to a crack grenade. So going forward, if I'm going to be playing against the Astra Militarum with the Adepta Sororitas, I think they're going to be the way to go. Now, in the past, I would make a strong argument for using Battle Sisters, but the Battle Sisters were also changed with the Deeds of the Fallen, so they no longer have the crack grenades, and it was given to the Dominions instead. So the Dominions I will use instead of the Celestians because they cost the same amount of points. Now, unfortunately, the one advantage that the Celestians have over the Dominions is they have that Spirit of the Martyr, which increases the amount of damage that they can do once they start taking model losses. So if you want to use them as multi-meltas, or just meltas with the way they carry it, that'll dramatically increase the amount of damage that they would do. Not so much with the flamer. So I think the Dominions having flamers and crack grenades, that now gives you the 2 kind of weapons you need to counter the Astra Militarum. You have the flamer to take out the infantry, and you have the crack grenades to do anti-armor and hero killing. So I think the Dominions will be an excellent addition. Plus, you can end up using their ability, which will lower the evasion of the Astra Militarum units. And if you're using flamers, I think anybody that's hit with a flamer will suffer the evasion penalty. It's addition to the vehicles already having very poor evasion just by default. So that should really lower the chance of you getting grazes and missing attacks with your melta-guns and things as you're dropping their invasion even further, even as you have only 80% base accuracy with those weapons. So that should dramatically make this an easier matchup. You know, it was just sloppy on my standpoint here. I don't want to take away from our opponent's win here because he played very well, but I really should have won this match. It was just some really bad movement. As you can see, I just kind of got myself tilted once I started to lose that Rhino and got it taken out. You know, you guys always comment on some of these videos like, how can somebody just let you take out that Rhino and not pop smoke? Well, I popped smoke and I thought I had him in cover and I still got myself taken out. I think you can see the strength of just bringing a single Vanquisher Tank Commander combo here works out really well to help you take out those Rhinos, Immolators, because you know the Adepta Sororitas are going to be doing a heavy infantry build against you. In the past, you would bring Sisters of Battle build and then you'd have all those crack grenades, but now that they've been taken away, that's not necessarily the case. Now I suppose you could still have to worry about a mass Dominion rush, in which case they'll have, you know, all 6, I think you can bring 6 of them on a 2,000 point matchup, and you'll have to worry about those 6 crack grenades. So you'll still want to be doing flamers if you're doing the Astra Militarum against the Adepta Sororitas, but it definitely changes the battle here. So, you know, if I would have just thought a little more strategically with some of those movements, had that not have wasted all those buffs going to my Canoness without healing her first, because then the game gets confused once you start getting over the total amount of HP, and it doesn't add all that bonus HP to the totals there. So definitely unfortunate. And then if I had some damage mitigation from the Medicus, I think the Canoness may have potentially survived that turn and allowed me to try to take out that tank commander. Again, there was just so many things I could have done different to win this match, but this is a good example of not getting tilted and thinking more about stacking your abilities appropriately, and not to get confused with that bonus HP issues that can happen with the Adepta Sororitas. I think that's kind of the learning point here. And then excellent abilities with the Psyker to limit my mobility. And just be aware, again, that the Sisters Repentia do not show accurate damage when you're using their charge attacks, because every square you cover, you're getting an additional percentage to their damage, but it doesn't show you the correct numerical value on the target, because as you saw when I was attacking and charging halfway across the map there with the Repentia, it only showed them doing like 30 to 40 times 5, which that's like base damage, and it should be even higher than that with every square, because it should be giving them 40 to 50% damage increase. So that gets to be a little bit frustrating when you're trying to decide, are they going to be enough to solo down a tank or other high value target, or are you going to need to weaken them up a little bit? So I hope Slytherin will fix that damage calculation in the future. Who knows? They don't always do that for those kind of abilities, but definitely something that I would recommend. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please give my channel a like and subscribe to encourage me to post more content for you. Have a great day.